watching Business Today, and of course, thank you for sticking with us. I'm Rana Habwe. Now, moving on, and while Djibouti International Free Zone tends towards becoming a continental trade powerhouse, Ugandan businesses and proprietors haven't overlooked the potential opportunities proposed by the Djibouti. In linking Djibouti, Addis and Juba, as well as Kampala, Augustine Busiwa, the chairperson of the Business Forum Association, joins us tonight to understand fully why the trade industry has faith in this development. Thank you, Mr. Augustine Busiwa.
Yeah,
good evening, and you can say hello to the viewers.
Yeah, good evening to you, and how are you, all of you there? My name is Augustine Busiwa Mwavutero.
Nice. I think I last saw you, I last interacted with you last year, I think in April, when you had a delegation from Djibouti in regards to a conversation regarding this very topic of Djibouti. Yeah. So this development of the Djibouti-Kampala trade route, how appealing is it to the business community? How special is it? You particularly seem to be very interested.
Yeah, sure. You know, Djibouti-Kampala trade route is very special because, you know, you see, most of the ports which we have on the Indian Ocean are on the left side. But here, this one is on the right side, which is on the side of Africa. Yeah. You know, we are not using the Indian Ocean, but we are using the Red Sea. And you see, why this route is very special, it is like, you know, if you bring goods from Dubai to Mombasa, it takes 9 days. Then it takes 7 days clearing the goods from the port. Then you take 3 to 4 days by road to Kampala. So when you add those days, you get like 21 days. But since Djibouti now is in Africa, and all goods are going to be in Africa, on the port, international free trade port. So it will take just 3 to 4 days from Djibouti to Kampala, using coming by road. Okay,
3 to 4 days, you say?
Yeah, 3 to 4 days. Because you see, like last year in November, I took a team of 9 people by road from Namaiba bus park to Nairobi to Mweyale.
How many days again?
The first leg they took 6 days, but why? They were using public means, buses, and you see they didn't know how to move because it was their first time. Okay. So you know the problem, we have a problem with Ethiopia, that you know when you get visa online, but when you go on the border of Mweyale, then the migration officers also want bribe.
Let's first pause there before we get into that conversation that is a little bit contentious and contradicting. I would like to know, because last year in an interaction that you had with the ambassador of Djibouti to Uganda, he mentioned to you business people on how you could take advantage of this new market. Because this country is just a population of 1 million, give or take.
1.2 million.
Yes, and it's a same desert country. So what trade opportunities or what are the goods you intend to take there?
Okay. You know, when we went there, we took bananas, we took ginger, we took pineapples, mangoes, avocado, and many other things. So we made a small exhibition. Okay. And you see, when those people tasted our pineapple, they said, but how do you put sugar there before you peel them? So I said, no, this one. And they said, what do you spray there so that they become sweet? That's nothing, it's natural. I said, why don't you bring these pineapples here? Wow. So we found that there is a big market in Djibouti. Yeah. And moreover, you see, after we came back in December, we took back one consignment in the supermarket because we had got market. So when we took the consignment, we found that a pineapple of Uganda, it costs $6. You understand? Wow. Yeah, $6. So that one, even bananas, even green pepper per kg. Okay. So you find a lot of opportunity and a lot of profit. But the problem we still had, it was that we don't have freight connection, direct connection.
Infrastructure.
Yeah, infrastructure. So when we came back, I wrote to the president's office asking them to help the business community by putting a route from Entebbe to Djibouti, or from Entebbe, Mogadishu, Djibouti. But now we came with a new idea. We want to take Entebbe, Juba, Djibouti, because we have also another opportunity that there is a road which is going to be constructed from Djibouti direct to Kampala. Let's
first pause there. I know we have a lot lined up in regards to that, and I think it's one of those big points that I wanted you to put across. Currently, Uganda has a market share of the Mombasa port approximately to 24%. 80% of Uganda's imports and exports go through Mombasa port. You can contend to that. Dar es Salaam, on the other hand, of course, because of, like you will also tell me, because of the high expense or high transportation costs, it's just about 10% compared to Mombasa, which is 80%. Now, I would like you to relate for me, because Mombasa has been a market or has been a port that you traders have utilized for long-term memorial. Even it's what we found. Relate those two ports for me, the Dar es Salaam port, Mombasa, and how you could compare it to the Djibouti port.
Okay. Now, you see, I think you have been hearing that most of the goods of Ugandans have been auctioned on those ports.
Yeah.
Mombasa, and Dar es Salaam, but mainly in Mombasa. But you see, Djibouti, as the port is also in the free trade zone, it's like a carrier. You bring your container, take off, and put on your trailer and go. So not like this in Mombasa, you clear this, you do this, never. Okay. So that is the first opportunity.
There are no non-tariff barriers.
No, yes, of course.
Okay, and
then another thing that we are encouraging Ugandans to get their land, to lease land from that free trade zone.
In Djibouti?
In Djibouti, because they lease you land for 99 years, 30 years,
okay.
And even you can just rent for a year on a year basis.
Isn't it happening in Mombasa?
I don't know much, and I don't think, but here, but you know, Mombasa is not a free zone.
Okay.
No, it's a port, just a transport. But this one is a free zone. So you can even bring your container and put it there in a free zone for 100 years. Nobody matters, and no taxes at all. So you just pay port charges and you take your container.
That's good.
Then another thing, that if at least this load, because last week I had here the chairman of Djibouti Ports and Free Zones, His Excellency Abubakar Omar Mohadi. So we visited all the offices that are relevant in that sector. We visited the Minister of East African Community.
Yes.
We visited the Minister of Works. We visited the Minister of Trade. We visited the coordinator of wealth creation. Because you see, when you talk about wealth, we are now looking for wealth. So we had also to involve the coordinator of wealth creation. So what we agreed, that we want to turn Gulu Airport to be the regional port from Juba, from Djibouti to
But there's no airport in Gulu, is
there? There is an airport.
Really?
There is. Yeah.
Oh,
and even we found the planes just taking off and all. So that one that is the best opportunity. And then we have a very good road to the border. But they said that in between there is 270 kilometers to be constructed, and then the road is full. But we found that Uganda had already signed an agreement with the 4 countries, Uganda, Southern Sudan, Ethiopia, and Djibouti. But when we asked, and people were just like saying they don't know about it. So that opportunity, when we saw that agreement, we said now everything has to go on.
Yeah.
So now me, on behalf of the business community, I'm going to be on the back of the government.
Good.
Just to say, please, we want to put this in place because you agreed. And you see the government of Djibouti confirmed that for them, they are ready. Just waiting for Uganda to come on board, and they continue. And they told me they have the money.
Of course they do. They have the money, and I've seen the airport. It is quite, it is ranked among the first 10 according to World Bank, and in Africa, like the second. They are really strong contenders. But I've interacted with people in the field, especially in the clearing and forwarding industry, people that have 50 years or more in regards to that. And what I've been able to learn from them is that in 1960s, there was a same alternative route that they proposed of Sudan, but it didn't work out.
Yeah, you know why?
Why?
Now Sudan, especially Southern Sudan, the way they are behaving between other people is a bit different and difficult. But what I advise the government, that they should sign an agreement of security corridor. That if we are having that corridor for transiting our goods, the four governments have to be with a common security like a committee that is securing that corridor. You understand? So that Sudan does not take it for granted that this is our corridor because it is passing through our country. No.
But do you think that such agreements will work? The EAC has already treaties, but people are still being blocked on Port Mombasa. All these people are infringing on the treaties that they signed. So this won't be the first time that such treaties are signed, but they won't work.
But
how optimistic are you that they will work?
What I know, that Uganda has a very big stake in securing South Sudanese security. That much you know. Okay. So we know that Uganda and South Sudan, they have a certain relationship which they have also to keep in mind that this might be one of our fathers. So when we bring Ethiopian board and Djibouti, we think that this thing will work, and it will work. I know, because they will see the benefit. You understand? Because you know, when we went to Djibouti last time, they were expecting to bring the railway station from Addis to Juba. Then I said, no. You see, Uganda is the best hub. Bring this railway station to Nimule. That is the border of Uganda and South Sudan. So, which means that if it reaches Nimule, then Uganda is already connected. And Uganda has a very big opportunity if these people understand the way how business people think. You understand? Because the problem of Uganda is just to accumulating taxes. And the accumulation of taxes has made many people lose interest in business. And most of them, they have run away to Zambia, Malawi, and other countries. Okay. But for me now, what I'm suggesting and what I'm pleading from the government, reduce the taxes, reduce the tariffs. Then so that these other people around here come back to Uganda. Because you see, before we had the Rwandese, we had the Congolese, we had those people from Burundi, even those people coming from the north of Tanzania, if we take this area the north, and some people from Kisumu of Kenya, we are buying from here. So it is very easy. If we make a small tariffs here, we shall get a lot of people buying here, and then many other things will bring in money, like hotels all over the world, all over the country, where people come.
Now, what I'm seeing, of course, those are really big plans that you have in regards to utilizing that market. But the most important thing is connectivity, infrastructure, like we had earlier talked about. The transport is disjointed. You have talked that you are in negotiations with these Djibouti, the Djibouti government and the ports. What are those underlying factors you have in place to eradicate this and move fast with trade? Because what are you going to do in regards, because air transport is expensive, so we are left with road, rail and water. What are you doing?
But now let me tell you one thing. For me, I asked the government that if they reduce on the taxes, on the tariffs of the goods which come via Djibouti International Free Trade Zone, and then Djibouti reduces the tariffs on the fruits and the vegetables from Uganda to Djibouti, because this is an international market. You know, Yemen has no food also. So we are expecting them to buy in Djibouti because it takes 25 minutes from Yemen to Djibouti. You understand? So Djibouti itself, it's a market. Djibouti has 8 international military bases there. So our products, if you take them in the market, nobody can compete.
Okay.
So what should we say? You see, also when we visited the Minister of Works, Gatumba said, okay, we can take the fruits, but what are we bringing back? I said, yeah, that is a good question. Reduce the tariffs, we take the fruits and the vegetables, then we bring the other goods which we don't have from the other market. And let me tell you one thing, and the Ugandans should understand. China is soon stopping people to go in their country.
Why? Because
they have already made Silk Road to Djibouti, to Africa. They are seeing Djibouti as a penetration market in Africa. So they are expecting to bring all the goods manufactured in China to Djibouti International Free Trade Zone. And mind you, that even you see this in Dubai now becoming proud, saying the visa now is 200, this is why we want this and this. Let me tell you, it is we Africans who have made that country to become big. Can you remember that even during Amini's regime, we were helping Dubai by giving them food and whatever. And in turn, they gave us a free parking. So now if they are becoming proud, this is our way now to penetrate. Africans, we are going to develop ourselves.
Interesting, but you've still not answered my question. How are we getting to Djibouti? We have no infrastructure.
We are going to go to Djibouti because for me, the team I took to Djibouti went through Nairobi, Ethiopia to Djibouti. It took 6 days, but when coming back, it was 4 days. So if you have your own car, it is 3 days.
You are using a car to Djibouti?
A car or a taxi or whatever.
A flight
it takes 2 hours.
Oh.
Yeah. So it's just Uganda to come down and they know what they want. That if we have our planes, instead of parking at Entebbe Airport for a full day, let us go to Djibouti. And in fact, I talked to Chairman Djibouti Ports and Free Zones, and they said, Augustine, if you are bringing Uganda Airlines to Djibouti, I'm going to give you incentives. You understand? And they said even the first route to land on Djibouti land, I'm going to pay for you.
How big is your business community? How the movement among the people you want to take there? Should we trust that you are going to move this delegation and you reach there and you indeed trade, or you are just a small number?
No, we are not a small number. Let me tell you, Ugandans are like this. You can make associations. We have now like 6 associations in Uganda. We have Business Forum Association, we have Kasita, we have Kata, we have Kafo, we have Uteya, you understand? But we all now work together because all our goal is to make the business committees work in harmony. So that is not the issue. Ugandans, when you tell them to pay for membership, they might not pay. But when the cause comes, they come on board. Okay. You understand? So Ugandans, do you know that Ugandans, when they want to go outside to make a business, they don't want to even tell anybody. They just run like thieves. But at the end, you find that you're on the same page. So Ugandans, we are many, and you have a lot of opportunities in Djibouti. You know, Djibouti is just growing. Do you know that I went in the supermarket and bargained on a wooden door, and I converted in Uganda shillings? I found that a wooden door is costing 2.5 million. The door which they are selling 250 in Endeavour there. I tell you people, we have a big opportunity. You know, Djibouti, they cannot use steel doors because of that sort of environment. They either use aluminium mostly and plastics. But aluminium is not as good as wood. And you see, when you enter into a house in Djibouti which has wood, you see it's very fantastic.
Interesting.
And now you see the all of Djibouti, now the buildings are just coming as mushrooms.
Interesting. Now, we have already established that there is a big market, especially with 95% of goods imported for Ethiopia passing through Djibouti, for the Dorare port, that big port.
That big port.
So, yeah. So, what is the two governments' role in this as we conclude? What is their role? The government of Djibouti and the government of Uganda, what are they mandated to do to ensure that this trade comes to be realized?
Now, let me tell you. Djibouti is over ready. Even General Sally told me, Chairman, these people are over ready. So now we need people to put Ugandans on board. But what made me getting even running mad is to call someone who signed an agreement and said, I don't remember whether I signed that agreement. since 2018. So we are not serious. And I saw General was furious, said, is this the way you are messing up the government? So, but what I know, we have to put people who are working hard to be on that commission. And I think we need the president to give a presidential directive on a commission which is going to do that in time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Your parting remarks for this conversation, this very short conversation that was very insightful, but would like to know what Ugandans should take away from this big trade opportunity that has just come from Djibouti, of which some traders are not very optimistic about. They think it won't work because of connectivity, but words of encouragement to them.
Yeah, first of all, I first to thank Smart 24 channel because you have been hunting for me to come here and give such a word. But also, let me tell the Ugandans, you should pick your chances before they run away from you. For us, we put in like more than 200 million to go and look for this market. We were not fools. If you keep silent, you will see us in 3 years, and you see that the people were telling us about this. Let me tell you, after lockdown, many businesses in Uganda have gone down. Even till now, the government is looking for taxes, but the businesses are going down. So we have to look for more opportunities. And let me tell you, someone who has land, please cultivate goods which we are going to sell outside of Uganda. This is the only factory which we have 100% with no doubt that will make us rich. You understand? I brought these people of Djibouti. They ate matoke with vinyegwa, this, sanyuchi. That one. And they said, this is a very best food. Bring this to Djibouti. So you people, you are going to go there and make restaurants. These people, they have beaches but are not developed. That is an opportunity. If you can construct a hotel, you see, we were in hotels, but once you get attempted and you leave the hotel without booking, you can sleep outside.
Thank you so much. I wish we could have continued this further. Such an insightful discussion. Of course, we'll be bringing you more of this Djibouti trade route here on Smart 24 TV to be able to know what entails of that market. Now, continuing with business today, and as we get close to winding up and looking at the compensation to cooperatives, volatile administration during the presidency of Obote and Idi Amin are linked to losses and seizure of assets cooperative unions. With government having undertaken the initiative to compensate, the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives has been tasked by the Public Accounts Committee to account for 40 billion shillings for compensation of all cooperative unions settled in the fiscal year of 2021-2022. According to Auditor General's report, various non-performing cooperatives were considered as those approved by Parliament were left out. Take a look.
The Cooperative Societies Amendment Bill was passed by Cabinet in 2015 to address the diversification of cooperatives by improving the safety and soundness of savings and credit. Government has been compensating cooperatives which were greatly affected by political and economic instability in the 1980s. While appearing before the Parliament's Committee of Public Accounts, Ministry of Trade presented their annual performance with conflicting information on the compensation of cooperative unions.
Compensations of those which exist. That is why you see on page 14, as our colleague Honorable Sarah has pointed out, they are saying those which were not supposed to receive received. So is this money? We should get a very clear answer, and I asked it actually. And which cooperatives were established and managed by the 40.5 billion? This is a very specific question.
The legislators tasked Ministry of Trade to provide a list of cooperatives which they compensated and how much money was given to each cooperative, as all this information was missing from the documents available to them.
That were approved by Parliament, and that information, and as I said, you have to keep taking note. Now, I'm very sure that information must be readily available, because the issue of cooperatives is not new. This is a matter we have debated in Parliament, so I want to imagine that it is information that is readily available, and maybe I want to invite you to give some response.
A very critical matter of compensation of cooperatives. And this matter has been recurring over the past years. This committee would be given justice if it was provided with the information. How much was the total compensation? How many cooperatives were to be compensated from the beginning? Which are these cooperatives, cooperative societies, that were to be compensated? If we could be provided with those details, and also how much has been paid to each of these cooperatives up to now. Going forward, then we would know what would be the balances.
The committee also discovered that the documents presented to them had varying figures of the amount that was compensated, which further raised more questions. This asked the committee chairperson to send this team away to go and organize themselves and present more reliable information on Friday this week.
What now is coming, which is very clear here, if you follow up what we are now having 36.3 billion, we have 27 point something billion, we have 40 point something billion. So there are so many conflicting figures on what? On compensation of cooperatives. It would be very important, as what Ahmed has raised, one, to list those who were compensated. Two, to list those which were approved by Parliament, because the Auditor General was saying it was an approval. Yeah? It was an approval. So what did the Parliament approve? What did the ministry pay? And where did they get authority to do that? Because also, environment, you know what happens, not more than 10%. Also, to change a work plan, you must come back to Parliament. And given the circumstances which it is, Mr. Chairman, this borders criminality. And you have a department in Parliament which deals on PAC, which deals with criminality. I would even make a proposal, Mr. Chairman, that this issue of compensation be handed to our Department of Criminality here.
Samlanifa, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
All right, that report leads us to the end of Business Today. Thank you for having joined us tonight, and of course for watching this insightful conversation we just had with Mr. Augustine Siwa, the chairperson of the Business Forum Association. I'm Rona Nahabwe, together with Winnie Wins and Nakauchi for the sign language interpretation. And in case you missed this bulletin, you could watch on our YouTube channel at Smart 24 TV live and be up to date with the latest business news within the region. As always, have a good night.